Hey, welcome to Rotor Ramble. I'm Danny Engesser.
I'm Kevin Barber, and joining us today is Ken Sherman.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, just a little technical difficulties before we started here. So new to this live stream stuff still.
Apologies.
It's our excuse.
Yes. My computer just completely just froze and then decided to reboot. And I was like, it was like moments before we were going live. I was like, no. So, well, welcome everybody. And this is our second live stream and our first one with a guest. So, we're honored to have Ken with us.
And Ken has a Phoenix UAS remote ID module. Ken, I don't know if you want to share anything about that.
Oh, we can get into that in a bit, I guess. It's a fairly long story, so we can talk about how that came about, I guess. You ready now, or?
Sure, why not?
Well, the way this all happened, if y'all remember, um, the NPRM for remote ID came out, and everybody's going, who's going to build modules? Where are we going to get these things from, right? And there's like nobody making these. Nobody knew what they were or how to build them. And then, oh gosh, what was it? Maybe 6 months before the go live date, people started seeing them come online, and they were running like what, $300 a pop, I want to say.
Yeah.
And we kind of thought, well, I think most people thought, who's going to buy that? And plus, if you look what was being made, they were ones that were really designed to attach to a what I just call a camera drone, not FPV quads, those type of things where you need something small and nimble and will fit inside a frame and that sort of thing. So, um, long story short, I was on a forum for the Freedom FPV Coalition, and somebody asked me if I knew something about coding or something like that. And one thing or another, that kind of got us into writing software for this module. And over about 6 months' time, we kind of chipped away at it and got our MOC and um, had boards developed, printed, and parts pressed onto them and firmware flashed. And we started selling them a year ago, December, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when you first started talking about it, I was kind of surprised that you were going to try for your own remote ID module, and uh, total respect on being able to do that. I definitely remember seeing that the prices were pretty high when they first came out. And I was thinking, who's ever going to uh, want to buy one of these things? So I'm glad to see that you were able to get something out there. And I know I've done some testing for you with it on my FPV drones, and so it's worked out fairly well for me. You know, I I
Yeah,
guess when I
we
launch the app, it shows that it's flying out there.
yeah we've sold quite a few of them, and in the interim, the market's expanded with other people coming in and selling modules and that sort of thing, and so the market's an ever shifting, moving thing, I think, and there's even a couple or there's at least one out there now that's got an integrated module for, I think it's like $40 that you slap on the back of your FPV. So it's interesting. We've looked at everybody else out there, and people that've been in the market, nobody's dropping their prices, that maybe because they've got baked in costs that don't allow them to. And one of the things I think that we're starting to compete against is, like us, we're a two-person company. We can't buy at scale, and we certainly aren't. Some of the competitors are Chinese companies who have wages that are nothing, and they can get bulk quantity parts. So that kind of may be a hard thing to compete against.
Yeah, for sure. I could see how that's going to be a challenge. So what do you have for further plans with it? Do you think there'll be? And by the way, Danny's just frozen over here. He's in the middle of a
Oh, did,
reboot.
did is he in reboot mode
He's in
again?
reboot again, so we've got his static image. Just again, the
he's
joys of live.
he's frozen.
So at some
Well,
point he
so
should be back here, I think.
so last fall, my business partner wanted to start trying to develop a module that was an all-in-one. Ours is one that you supply your own GPS,
Yeah.
and one of the benefits of that is you can tuck the expensive part inside of a frame and not worry about it being destroyed or ripped off or that sort of thing. And I can tell you the number of GPS modules that I have scattered out in fields, places that I can't find them any longer. So not wanting to lose expensive parts can always be a good thing. And anyhow, we started working on an integrated module, and that's kind of had bumps and spurts and whatnot. And I don't know if we can actually, we've got the know-how to build one and to produce it, but I don't know if we can compete with $40.
Yeah, really. That's quite the competition there. But
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
on the end of being a consumer, it's definitely good for, in my point of view, trying to buy a module and trying to comply with the FAA guidelines and everything. But yeah, definitely difficult if you're trying to be a producer of the module out there.
Yeah, what we don't know is I think it's Newbie Drone had one that came out recently that was running about $39.99, and what I don't know is how many they're selling. So that's an unknown and hard to say. So
Yeah. So just we your other project that you've been working on, tell us a little more about that too.
yeah, so if y'all remember last fall, it would be hard not to remember where drones seem to be falling out of the sky everywhere. And every light being seen, every star being seen was, it's a drone. Well, that got me thinking. We were out Christmas time out in California, out in Sacramento, and there was a Christmas show, and I saw a camera drone up. It looked like a DJI one with the colored neon lights on, blinking. I had no concerns about it, but I whipped my phone out and brought my app up, and it couldn't find it. And so that got me to thinking that with all of these incidents going on, that there could be some potential use for some sort of scanner type of thing that works better than what you have for a phone type of thing. So we've been kind of prototyping one of those. We've had some working prototypes. You helped me do some testing last week.
Yeah.
And it's in its infancy as well. We don't know where it's going to go. Firmware wise, it's got a ways to go. And what we are kind of starting with multifaceted is trying to see what sort of need or demand there is for something like that. From my perspective, if you're looking from a public safety perspective, you've got plenty of people out there that, I think some of it's, my sense is paranoia, but at the same time, you can't discount those people. And if you've got a stadium, and you've seen the incidents in the NFL stadiums where drones have flown in and games are stopped for minutes, and that becomes a big deal. And so our thought was that there could be some sort of applicability for a small device that would just catch and scan for your basic compliant drones, not ones that weren't. That's a whole nother mess of technology that we have no idea how to make work. So we're kind of staying in our wheelhouse, so to speak.
Yeah, so this device you've created, I remember seeing it while we were there. I think it's on the screen at the moment. Just a little tiny module, just barely, you know,
Yeah, it's
about the
about the
size of
size
your
of your
remote
thumb.
ID. And I think we've got Danny back. Welcome, Danny.
Hey, thanks. Oh,
Nothing like
goodness.
live.
I've not sure what to do different. I stopped the recording on my end. So anyway, continue. I kind of went back. I've been listening on my phone as you guys have been talking. So talking about the detector.
Yeah, so our whole idea was let's find off the shelf parts that are easy to find, and you know the same module is a similar module that we use to broadcast. I mean, those are basically small um, computer systems on a chip. They've got the whole uh, um, what's the right way to say it? They're called software on a chip, basically. And so the whole operating system is on the chip. It does a limited set of things. It does it good. They're relatively inexpensive. And it literally has the ability to um, send and receive Bluetooth and Wi-Fi messages. And so we're just leveraging that technology that's been around forever. It's the same stuff that's in your phone, basically. But your phones have some limitations to how far they can reach. You know, if you've been in the hobby, you're probably aware that while you can have signals that are weak, you can amplify signals, right? So you can't put a directional antenna on your phone and get more reach, but with what we've got, you can do that. And so that was the whole genesis for taking another module, just basically giving us ability to stick on different antennas to see what works best. I mean, in a nutshell.
Do you have a vision for an end product that you're shooting for?
Um, I think what we would do if we can make this work is just basically take the module and put it in a case and sell it with an antenna and something that just basically plugs into your phone. That way you don't need to invest in hardware for all the other things for displaying things on the screen, for instance. So we've also gone and taken an app and we've got the fundamentals of showing, mapping what we've tracked in the sky as well.
Okay. And Danny, we lost your audio. At least you could move and talk to yourself. This is great for a podcast. So to put words in Danny's mouth, I hate remote ID.
One thing that's interesting about it is, I think like with anything, there's this period of resistance where you don't know what it is, and then you kind of get start learning more about it.
Hello, hello,
And
hello.
he's back.
We hear you.
And I think the thing that's maybe too bad about it is that there's not been enough publication of or informative things about it that people know how you might make good use of it if it was for something for truly a safety thing, for trying to identify whatever the case would be. I mean, to me, that's the biggest missing gap there. It's got the ability to do some of the things people talked about from the safety perspective, but nobody's pushed those where people who need to use it can, So from the, around here, I've been flying the ones that I need to put remote ID on now for over a year. I've never been bothered by anybody.
Yeah.
The whole pilots are going to die. They're going to be maybe a knee-jerk reaction. So far, I don't know that anybody has been accosted or murdered because they were having their broadcast or their takeoff location broadcast.
I'm sure we would have heard it if somebody did.
Well, with everybody complying, I'm sure you would think it would be a high chance, right?
Yes.
What's your target market for this um, receiver?
Well, I think it's really just, public safety type of people, or people who want to be able to check to see what's out there. There are competitors out there that are building ones that will track something that's come through an area that you can geofence in and send alerts off. And they're fairly expensive propositions. And, these are, think of some of these customers would be people who have maybe what they think are sensitive things that they don't want people flying over. Um, you know, that use case, while it sounds good, I'm not sure that there's really any practical use for it, considering that you can't do anything about it right now.
So you're not planning on implementing a weapon system into this, is that correct?
Well, no, that's never entertained us. There was I can't remember. There was one particular app. I can't remember which one it was, and if you looked at their license on the app, it was always on. And I think they were trying to make their app be like a flight radar type of thing. Because I had the app on your phone, I've now got sensors out there that you could put everywhere. And I think my hunch is it was an effort to resell that for some other purpose type of thing. Um, you know, I've had no notion where that doesn't sound interesting to be involved with personally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I look at it more strictly look at uh, maybe a police department, right? Or something that's got events that they want to be able to tell who is this over there, or something's happened, I need to find the person. I mean, that's really all, I think about that this has some utility for.
Here's a thought, and I'm only stealing this because I know like DJI has built in ABSD, saying that right,
ADSB.
detection
Close.
detection in the controllers, and there's probably a potential market if you were to sell something like this to a drone manufacturer that they could build that into the controller. Even you could bring up a what drones are in the area mode. I don't know, just a consumer level thing that could be built in too.
Yeah, and I think another potential market for it is, let's say you're actually a Part 107 pilot and you're doing real commercial work someplace, and you want to know what else is out there and put some other eyeballs on the sky through technology. You could very easily put this on the phone and cast your screen to a bigger screen, and have visibility of what else might be in the area that you might care about. So
Yeah, so some situational awareness might be
yeah,
even nice if you could integrate ADSB into it, or flight radar, for example, or not just drones but aircraft as well. That'd be kind of a neat.
yeah. Well, that won't run on one of these little chips.
Sure.
Who's our friend over New Zealand? He's got an ADVS tracker out there
Yeah.
that you can build on
XJet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those where you can put them on a Raspberry Pi with like a software radio.
Yeah.
I've thought about doing one just because I'm a nerd, but I'm not
Well,
not big enough of a nerd to follow through.
well, they had some pretty good use cases for that sort of thing, and it's interesting. Every time I'm out flying, I realize that what, the two things on the side of my head are pretty good at hearing noises.
Yeah.
And generally, if there's a crewed aircraft that's getting close to me, I can hear it that I need to worry about.
Generally,
So,
there have been times, even just in my, oops, that's Danny. Even just in my own backyard, I've got power lines that go through, and uh, probably about once a quarter, there's a helicopter that flies through inspecting these power lines, and they fly low enough where I can basically see the pilot and wave to them. So you don't always hear those coming that far in advance. I think other situations like crop dusting. Now I know crop dusting, they're not necessarily required to broadcast ADSB, but I could see that as another application where they would be very handy to have. Now I know my DJI Mavic 3 does have an ADSB receiver on it, so I can get that situational awareness right on the controller too. But obviously with some of the other drones, I don't have that.
Yeah, and depending on your area, like I've turned that off. Like I live under a flight path to the airport, uh, for to the runway, and so like if I had that on, it would be going off all the time. So I've had to turn that off for sure. Um, what form factor? I mean, maybe you talked about this already, but what form factor? I know it's kind of in a prototype stage, but like you've gotten your the module really tiny. How big are you thinking?
Yeah, my sense is just designing a case to fit that in and put it in there securely, and then just basically put a port on so you can have your antenna running to it, and then have another or a cable coming out that plugs into your USB-C port on your phone. So something pretty simple. We could probably do something that's 3D printed if I could find a designer who. That's not my cup of tea.
Kevin?
Yeah, I've designed a few.
Yeah, I have not gotten into 3D stuff, or 3D printing, but I'd love to try sometime.
Well,
so
I think also you could almost do where it's kind of a permanent mount on like a police car or something like that, where you could always have a high gain antenna. I think is correct me if my terms are wrong.
That, there's a lot of possibilities. I mean, because this module can do Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. If you wanted to, you could set up permanent stations, and with enough antennas, you could go in and have a sensor out there monitoring a location, and as long as you're within close enough range of a Wi-Fi signal with a hotspot, then we could communicate messages back to something, type of thing. So, there's lots of possibilities, and I always take the let's walk before we run type of thing.
Yeah.
And there's a couple. Who's the company from? They're Eastern Europe. They're not Czech. They're the ones who made the BS module. I'm forgetting the name of them, but they've come out with a They've come out with a scanner. Theirs runs right around $1,000. And what they've done is they've gone on and put on all sorts of features, let it monitor a place, geofence a place, send alerts. It has a cell phone in it, basically, so you can have connectivity and upload data to their cloud system. There's another.
Is that the drone tag BS?
Yeah, Drone Tag's the company.
Yeah, okay.
So they've got a drone. So go up to their products, and I think on
Beacon, Scout, Rider.
Yeah, look at Rider.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, it's new.
Yep. So, so you're starting to see people enter this market of sensing, basically, or scanning type of thing. There's another company out there, I'm forgetting their last name.
Aeroscope.
No, it's not Aeroscope, but they're very similar. They're very similar to what that drone tag one does. Has got connectivity and those sorts of things. Those are pretty expensive systems at about $1,000 a pop. So, we can. I doubt if you're just the casual public safety person, like at an event, concert, whatever, they probably don't need all of those things. So that's where maybe something like what we're thinking about might make more sense.
Well, after the drone events of 2024 in New Jersey, I'm sure there's a bigger interest in this type of product.
Yeah, so we were able to, so I don't know, we've done minimal testing, but, I think if you were, or my interpretation would be that most people go, well, Wi-Fi beacons and Bluetooth, those don't go very far. You're not going to be seen very far. And if you look at the Bluetooth 5 spec that we broadcast with, I think it says somewhere around 300 feet. Our module being picked up with just a phone app we picked it up much farther than that. And the antenna that Kevin was helping me test the other day, we were out right at about a half mile where we lost connection. So the thing that's interesting is at a half mile out, you're to the point where it's almost impossible to see them by the naked eye unless you've followed it for quite a ways. So,
well, of course, we maintained the visual line of sight the entire way when we were testing.
Of course.
I could see the red blinky lights.
That's right.
How long have you, if you want to share, how long you've been working on this product versus your module?
Oh gosh, maybe started a month ago, maybe.
Okay, cool. So Ken, I don't think you guys talked about it since I missed the beginning, but give us kind of your backstory. Like, how did you get involved with drones? How long have you been doing like kind of the building? I know you love to build your own drones, and you tell us how you got started, I guess.
So, I've done photography for the longest time, and I always thought that it would be fun to put a camera up on a drone. And I always had this reservation that, I've got this $2,000 piece of glass up there. I just am not going to smash this thing into pieces. That was something I could not ever see doing. And so I kind of just discounted spending money on trying to lift cameras up in the air. And then come back to right around before the pandemic started. And I think out of part of the boredom side of things that we all experienced, I don't know how or why they started showing up my feed, but I started seeing some of these FPV feeds, and I kind of just grew into, looking at these. And, I think I probably watched a lot for probably close to a year's time. And I finally said, well, we might as well go buy one. What could go wrong, right? And I destroyed the first quad that I had multiple times in the first 2 months and rebuilt it multiple times. And I mean, literally just destroyed the thing trying to learn how to fly it.
And I know you have a Air 2S Mavic, but FPV was your first drone, correct?
Yes. So I'd never flown even a camera drone before that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of cameras do you put on your FPV drones?
Today my go-to is GoPro Bones. That's the one that I'll stick on there. And I've actually got it set up if I wanted to make myself it turn into a camera drone. I think a lot of people don't realize that you can have position hold on your FPV quads, and in case that Chinese band ever comes along, I'm probably okay without my other ones.
I know you've been working on that pretty dedicated to getting the FPV in a stable mode, and you're using GPS, right? GPS hold.
Yeah. So I think most people, or at least I was initially I realized I was aware of firmware flight control software called Betaflight, and that's been it's been really more of a tool for racing and freestyle and that sort of thing. And I wasn't aware of the other flight control systems out there, and so iNav is one that's always had your position hold like capabilities that you're kind of accustomed to on your camera drones. And there's also ArduPilot. ArduPilot's kind of really hard to get set up, and so I bailed after trying to do that and realized that it wasn't worth it for what I was trying to do. But nowadays, Betaflight also has position hold, and so you can actually get a pretty decent hover and stay. It's not as good as what you're going to see in your DJI stuff, but with electrical stabilization on your cameras and that sort of thing, you don't need perfect. You just need pretty close.
Sure. Get the right tool for the job. And
yeah.
And you've tested, I've always been wary for some reason of the GPS stuff on FPV. Like, does that work for return to home for you, or have you had bad luck with that?
No, I've got mine all set up to do that, but most times I don't need it because I'm just doing close proximity flying, and so it's there. And so when I did think that it was very useful is when I was learning how to fly, and I didn't know how to keep it up in the air, and I always thought that's where it had some real good utility out there. If you're a novice trying to learn to fly FPV, you can bail out and save yourself.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't use return to home on my DJI drones anyway, so I guess it's
I don't need
loss.
I don't either. I just fly back. It's not that hard.
Yeah, exactly. I remember what a big deal it was for me when I started not pushing the button to take off and land. I was like, oh yeah, sticks.
Well, one of the things, you can automate all these things, but if you want to automate all these things, then you're also relying on those things to keep yourself in one piece and not flying into things and those sort of things. And so far, these guys have never failed.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have a vision for what your next project will be?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. I'm waiting for a motor to come in to get my tiny trainer back up and flying it. I burned out a motor and had to replace a flight controller on it, and so that's just some basic fixing stuff. But I don't have any big ambitions on building anything else new at this point in time.
Would you like to fix some of my stuff?
We could certainly we could give soldering classes.
I could definitely use it.
Still need to restore that waterlogged one.
That's right. The froggy drone.
The froggy drone. I think it might be this one up here.
Well, this morning I think, Dan, you had some fun experience trying to replace balance leads on one of your batteries at one point in time. I think you tried and then.
Yeah. I realized I did not have the, I don't know if dexterity is the right word for that. I was getting sparks and.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. So I spent 5 minutes this morning. This is one I tore up the balance leads the other day in a prop. And so that's where those things can come in handy. It just can keep you up in the air pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I generally now I'm not big on the repair stuff. I'm kind of I buy bind and fly. I haven't built my own, so I don't, I'll admit that.
Well, the other day when I was testing out some of our scanner stuff and doing that around the house, and it's kind of interesting trying to test this stuff out because you've got to have a signal to do it. And took one of mine out there and plugged it in. It's like nothing, nothing. And what you'll learn is these XT60 and 90 connectors, I mean, after a while, what happened is actually where the leads were soldered in, they had disconnected inside and you couldn't see it from everything that was covering it. So I literally had the wires were no longer touching. So after so many plug in and plug outs, I think those things just wear out.
Yeah. Well, even well, I'm jumping over to cameras, I guess now, but with the DJI 04 units, I guess talking about plugging, you were saying the wires are coming unplugged on those too, right?
Yeah, what I've seen on one of the forums that I've kind of visit is that the MIPI cables on them, it's a cable there, it's a really fine cable that connects the camera to the board of the O4. They're just tearing. Um, they're it seems in one case they kind of double stacked where there's two connectors and it just seems to be kind of fragile, and so there's been a lot of people who, I mean, they don't, they just have not been lasting apparently, and which is kind of unfortunate because it's kind of a nuisance to have to send that stuff back in for repairs.
Do you have any of those on your drones? 04?
I do.
Oh, Kevin does. That's right. How's that been working?
So far, so good. Knock on wood. I
Uh,
I actually have a fly through that I'm working on, or I'm working on planning for it. So within the next week or so, I should have a nice little fly through video, hopefully that's successful. So kind of a after construction type project. So hopefully I can share more of that later and the successes of it. But yeah, I did get to fly this. This is the Pavo Femto from Beta Flight, and so nice little. It's a 79 gram uh, drone, so FPV. So it's legal to fly over people if you put on a remote ID module.
how many cells does that
So
per
it's
battery?
yeah, it's just a little 2 cell battery
Okay.
on that. They've got some 1 cell models, 1 cell drone models that are flying the the light, the DJI 04, the light version, and I was kind of interested in those, but I wanted something that I knew would have the power and flight time.
Just rig up a 6S to that. It'd be fun.
Yeah, I think
Battery way more than the
I was going
drone.
to say the 6S itself wouldn't be able to fly over people. Have to throw it, give it a football throw.
Just keep the battery in the ground and wire a long cable to
There you
it.
go.
How
It's a
about
tethered drone then.
that? Tethered. Absolutely. Um, is there anything else you want to talk about with your module, or I know I'm always talking about it on this show, the one you custom made for me.
I think the one thing about the different, I mean, you know, uh, the one thing that ours has going for it is that, it's all of 2 grams, the module itself. If you've got a GPS already, you can use it. And one of the things that you can't do if you're doing FPV and you want to do position hold and that sort of thing, you need to have a GPS signal that you get refreshed fast enough, somewhere around 10 hertz. And with any of these cheap glue-on modules, you're not going to get that. And so we actually built and designed ours so you can actually get 10 hertz throughput on this, so you can get good enough position hold and that sort of thing. And so not all of them do that. So that's one of the things that people may not be aware of. And if you're trying to buy one and you want to use those features, I know there are some that will not give you enough throughput to keep you up in the air solidly. So, yeah.
There you go.
Uh,
Get your Phoenix module at phoenixuas.us.
yeah. Were there you had some other stories you were kind of wanting to maybe talk about in the news, or no?
Well, I think the one thing that was interesting to me was North Dakota. They had a bill, um, and I believe this article that I just happened to pull up was a bit of an older one here, but the headline is basically that North Dakota had um, kind of two parts of a bill in place. One was going to be to replace all of their drones that were Chinese made. It was going to be $15 million to replace um, these, you know, evil Chinese drones with expensive U.S. made drones. Um, and the other part of that bill was to um, uh, I'm trying to find it here, but basically have like a radar system, Vantis, the Vantis program, um, to to basically it'd be kind of like ADSB for drones, is the way I understand it, and so kind of aligning more with the FAA's infrastructure, and I believe it's a test initiative, so more of a research and development. Um, but this initially passed, I think it passed the House, and half the bill, so the replacement, the $15 million replacement part of the bill was voted down, and the Vantis part of it was upheld. So that's going to be going forward. That's kind of the news for that.
Wasn't there some, maybe I'm remembering this wrong though, but wasn't there some part of it where the thing with Avantis was that it didn't detect like DJI drones or something? Am I imagining that?
I'm not familiar with that part of it.
There was some weird quirk about it, about that system, that even though it was thumbs up to Chinese drones, it was like the system didn't seem to like play well with those drones or something like that, which I thought was odd. But maybe I misunderstood the whole story.
Yeah, so here's a little more recent article here. And it looks like they're still trying to salvage the drone replacement. It sounds good. Yeah, let's invest money in drones, but it's replacing all of the DJI drones or Autel drones. And, demonstrably more expensive U.S. drones. So,
yeah. And one might say less reliable. I mean,
yeah, so it's kind of a ban and replacement, but it's, one-time funding. So anybody that wants to get additional drones, it's going to be a lot more expensive. So.
And the chances of those companies being around the next time you have to replace them or get service is probably not as high as the DJI, who's not probably going to go anywhere.
Well, one other thing that's interesting about the supply chain deal, because that's the real thing, is that in this country we don't have the ability to produce the things that are needed to go into the making of these things, right? What's the name of the program that the military has? It's their. Oops, my light just went out.
Full of tech problems tonight, aren't we?
The military's program is trying to ramp up the production of SUAS for their purposes, right? And I don't remember the name of it. It's got an acronym. You probably remember what it is. And it was curious. I saw an article that talked about how over in Ukraine, they go through, I thought they said it was either 5,000 or 50,000 drones in a month. It was a very large number. And this whole military project to ramp up drone production was to only get to 3,000 in 2 years.
Wow.
So they're not even pushing enough scale to get where you would need to get to what you're seeing over in Eastern Europe right now. So,
although to be fair, They're one-time use drones in Ukraine. The kamikaze drones, at least.
Yeah, but if you look, there's a company that just came out and they got put onto the I don't think it's the blue UAS, but it's a list that allows companies to sell to the military that are approved. And this is a small company out of California, and they're basically selling cheap replaceable ones, right? And they got the approval for that, and they're the small sized ones that you see over there. And so we're not talking about the big predator type drones. We're talking about small ones. So that's just what I kind of find interesting is for all the different whims that you hear out there. There's nothing that seems to be pushing the need to manufacture here that's enticing it in any way, shape, or form that's realistic.
I was trying to pull up some of the news articles here, and I see an interesting couple of 3 stories. Michigan police expand drone use, but worried about the federal rule, so by banning Chinese drones potentially. And then also out of Michigan, man facing felony charges after shooting down a drone. And then
I think that was a police drone too, if I remember right.
That could be. I'll click on that in a minute here. But then I also see from Arizona police want to waive the liability for shooting down drones. So, yay.
Nothing could go wrong there.
Nothing could go wrong. And as we've learned from the New Jersey drone stuff, police know what they're talking about all the time. And they are clearly able to spot a drone. And it's definitely a drone, not an aircraft.
Well, I think I've heard they're pushing through legislation out there in Jersey. Again, I could have the story wrong, but I think I was hearing they were trying to have exceptions for law enforcement for taking down drones in situations where I guess they feel threatened. I don't know. Pointing to the situation in Jersey over the last few months, but I don't know that anybody was being threatened other than lights in the sky. So probably just a bunch of fear mongering.
Yeah.
I thought the whole was a few weeks ago they came out and said they I think it was from the White House. They had the official response about these were FAA authorized drones. I think there's been a little bit of a misunderstanding of what that meant. I think a lot of people think that it means that the FAA had drones of their own up there, or they had some project up there. But me going out and flying in controlled airspace or not controlled airspace, as long as I have authorization, that's unauthorized. I'm authorized to fly in that airspace, you know.
It's kind of curious how that got announced that they're all authorized just all quick and sudden. And one of the articles I'd read, it said the FAA said, "What about that?" Or they asked them, and they said, "We'll have to ask the White House." So I'm being the skeptic on that was the official reason.
Well, I take FAA authorized to be. There wasn't evidence of it being unauthorized. So by default, if you're a recreational flyer with trust test and following the regulations, you're authorized. And, Part 107 operators flying Class G airspace, following the regulations, you're authorized. So that's the way I took that.
That's the way I did too. Yeah, it was like, you're following the regs, then you're authorized to be there. What else we got?
Yeah, I'm kind of nearing the end of my limited list here of things to chat about here.
Any new gear besides the drone you've been hot on the I know we've talked about it before.
I've been on the tiny
whoop stuff.
Yeah, I've been on the tiny whoop train. I'm this this Pavo Femto, it's hard to say. And autocorrect always wants to recorrect it. That's kind of my it's not what I've been flying most lately. I've still been flying the Cinewhoops or the Tiny Whoops mainly lately. But as the weather warms up, I'm going to get some more FPV flights out there. So.
Well, and a big thanks to you too to remind me to check my batteries too, because
right.
A lot of people haven't been flying these last few months, and you might go back and realize your batteries are dead. Some of them might be able to be brought back to life, but it's good for your battery maintenance to, you keep those in storage at about 60%.
Yep.
And then it's good on occasion to charge them all the way up, drain them all the way down as far as you can, kind of, especially with like DJI batteries, where there's quote unquote intelligent batteries, but those computers can get thrown off every once in a while. So bring it all the way back down, charge it all the way back up, and kind of just reset those. But and do that, in periods of inactivity. Try to do that, even if you're not going to go out and fly. Try to have good battery maintenance.
Yeah, it's a good excuse to get out and fly if for no other reason than exercising your batteries.
I'm really amazed. These are some of the original packs that I bought 3 years ago, and they've been recycled and charged so many times, and they show no signs of dropping their capabilities. I mean, I've been really impressed.
Yeah, my Mavic Air, the original Mavic Air that I have, I've got 1 out of 3 batteries that's completely dead now, won't take a charge or anything. So good reminder to get out there and test them out.
At least it didn't go bad in the air like one of my Mavic Air batteries.
Well, actually, it kind of did.
Oh.
So while we were out flying, while we were testing with, while I was testing with Ken, yeah, it had a unscheduled or quicker than scheduled landing, and I did find a tree, of course, because it was out there. But was able to pick it up, get the snow dusted off of it.
Was it a good crash video though?
Not really. In fact, I wasn't even recording at that time.
Oh man.
So.
Cool. We're kind of approaching about an hour with our tech delay. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to chit chat about. I'm impressed we got it to stay up and running after 2 false starts. Ugh, we haven't had any problems in our testing up till now.
Yeah, you had to say that.
I know, knock on wood. Jinxed it. Cool. Ken, do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we will definitely have you back. It's awesome to have you be our first guest. Sorry about the tech problems.
No worries.
It's live broadcasting for you, right? But yeah, I guess we'll wrap this up then and kind of keep it a shorter one, and we'll try to, if we can do these, we're kind of getting on a good schedule so far this year, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe 1 a month so far, something like that. I don't know. I'm not keeping track, but definitely better than what we've done the last few months. So, if we can do that more often, that would be awesome. And we thank every one of you for tuning in, every 1 or 2 of you. But no, we appreciate the viewers, and we would like you to subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Instagram and wherever else you can find us. And we mentioned your website. Is there any place else you want to mention to have people follow you?
No, I'm kind of have dropped all my social media stuff. So.
Okay. Understandable. All right. Well, thanks again for everybody. We will sign off for today, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.